Hello everyone, welcome to the series of videos where I will be talking about the idea of running companies' operations in a global environment, right? So in this particular video, we'll be talking about specifically the idea of missions and strategies. So what is a mission? So mission statements or mission statement tells an organization where it is going, right? And strategies are the way in which the organization gets where it wants to go. And that is what this video is going to be about. We'll talk about mission statements and how mission statements are crafted. We'll look at some examples of mission statements. Then we'll talk about strategies in general, company strategies in general. Then we'll quickly pivot to operation strategies because obviously we're talking about operations management. We'll quickly pivot to operation strategies and how you operationalize those higher level strategies that you come up with as a company, right? So let's get to it. So mission, the purpose or the rationale for organization existence. So why does the organization exist? What does it contribute to the society? What kind of product does it make? What kind of service does it offer? Are there any boundaries? What does it focus on? So a mission can tell you a lot about a company. And here are some examples. So Merck, the mission of Merck is to provide society with superior products and services, innovations and solutions that improve the quality of life and satisfy customer needs, to provide employees with meaningful work and advancement opportunities, and investors with superior rate of return. So they crammed a lot into this statement. So they talk about the products and services that they want to make. They talk about providing their employees with meaningful work and providing a rate of return for their investors, right? So this is a pretty dense sort of mission statement. So, and it's very generic too, right? It doesn't drill down into anything specific. But lots of times when companies, especially these days, when new companies come into being and they start to craft their mission statements, they tend to be more focused on a particular thing that they try to do. Merck is a very large company that has a lot of products and provides a lot of services. So having a more generic mission statement makes sense. Now, if you look at individual subsidiaries of Merck, they themselves will have their own mission statements, which might be more focused towards what they're doing. But this is for Merck as a company as whole, right? Now, PepsiCo's mission is to be the world's premier consumer products company focused on convenient foods and beverages. We seek to produce financial rewards to investors and provide opportunities for growth and advancement for our employees, business partners, and communities in which we operate. And in everything that we do, we strive for honesty, fairness, and integrity. Right? Now, a couple of things I wanted to notice is that one thing that PepsiCo mentioned was about communities in which we operate. Right? So that's not something that Merck talked about. Right? So Merck talked about investors, employees, and products and services. But PepsiCo not just talked about investors, products, and employees, but they also talked about the communities in which they operate. So in general, where Pepsi factories are located, right? So what does that do to the community nearby? So they are taking that as part of their mission, making sure that those communities also thrive is part of their mission. And that is different from just, say, for example, what Merck said. Right? Now let's look at something more specific. Arnold Palmer Hospital, right? The Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children provides state-of-the-art, family-centered healthcare focused on restoring the joy of childhood in an environment of compassion, healing, and hope. No talk about products and services. No talk about return of, returns that they have to give for their investors or anything like that. It's just about making sure that children have good health care and they're happy and they enjoy their childhood. That's what Arnold Palmer Hospital is all about, because it is a non-profit organization. So profit is not its main motive, right? So how does an organization come up with this mission? We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But once an organization comes up with this mission, the next step is the strategic process. So once you have an organization's mission, then you have missions for each individual functional area. Usually the three big areas: marketing, operations, and finance, accounting, right? So these are the three big areas, and they tend to have their own mission. So, for example, company mission is to say manufacture and service an innovative, growing and profitable worldwide microwave communications business that exceeds our customers' expectation, right? And sample operations mission is to produce products consistent with the company's mission as a worldwide low-cost manufacturer. So, let's say that this is a low-cost, modem manufacturer, right? So, this is the company's mission in general, but this is their operations mission specifically, which is about manufacturing, and they want to be a low-cost manufacturer, and that's something specific and something important to remember, right? And so you can have individual OEM departments, and they can have their own missions. So product design will have a product design based vision, process design will have a process design based vision, right? Okay. And so inventory to achieve low investment in inventory consistent with high customer service and high facility utilization, right? So you want high customer service, high facility utilization, but you also want to have your inventories as low as possible, right? So here are the examples of a mission. So once you have a mission and once you've created a strategy, how are strategies implemented? So operations managers are the ones who will implement the operations strategy. So you have to develop a plan to achieve the mission. And we have to ensure that each of the functional areas is working on operations functional areas specifically. So you have to exploit opportunities and strength, neutralize threats, avoid weaknesses. Obviously, this is talking about the SWOT analysis, and we will talk about SWOT analysis in a second, right? So, So that's strategies in general. Now, so if you look at the kinds of strategies that companies have when they're competing, so one of the things that companies have is something called the USP, or the unique selling point. Why does your company exist as opposed to some other company that is exactly the same as yours, right? Why does Apple exist when Apple makes phones and so does Google? Right. So what is the difference between Apple and Google? Why do we buy Apple phones versus, say, Samsung phones versus LG phones or Google phones, right? So that's something to keep in mind. So what are the competitive advantages? So what are the strategies that you have to create a competitive advantage for your own company so that your company has a reason to exist? And there are three very common dimensions of competitive advantage. One is differentiation. So you're better or at least different from others. How are you better or different from others? Cost leadership. So you could be the cheaper alternative, or you could be the more expensive alternative, right? So either the cheaper alternative or the expensive alternative, you need to realize where your company is. And of course, responsiveness. So remember that you cannot compete on all three at once. You might choose one, maybe two. At best, even two is very difficult. Companies tend to have one thing that they do really well. Walmart. So if I had to say, Walmart doesn't do anything differently from any of the big stores like Target or all of these other places, but it does cheaper really well, right? And Target is better than Walmart, so it's at least different from Walmart. So it has a differentiation strategy. And of course, there are other companies that do things differently. Say, why do you buy things on Amazon as opposed to going to a store? More responsive, right? So there's the competitive advantages are different. It's important to know what is the USP or the unique selling point for your company, right? So let's look at some examples, competing on differentiation. So distinguishing the offerings of an organization in a way that a customer perceives as adding value, right? So you have Walt Disney Magic Kingdom experience differentiation. So you can go to many different theme parks, but why Walt Disney Magic Kingdom? Because you get the Disney stuff, you get the Disney magic, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And of course, the example that keeps coming up again and again in the textbook is Hard Rock Cafe. Right, so it is a dining experience, but how is Hard Rock Cafe, say, different from a different steakhouse or a different, a Mexican restaurant or something else, right? So the dining experience is different. You probably have a live band playing. You have Hard Rock paraphernalia around. The menu is a certain way because it has it's based off of Hard Rock, right? So there is differentiation in the way they compete. So Hard Rock Cafe is not the cheapest place to go and eat. Right? It's not the place where you get the best food either. It's a place where you get a very different kind of experience, and you go there for that experience. Right. So again, here are some examples of experience differentiation. Now, competing on cost. So low cost leadership means achieving maximum value as perceived by the customer. Here are some examples. But low cost does not always imply low quality, but sometimes it might. Southwest Airlines, flights from secondary airports, no frills service, efficient utilization of equipment. Walmart, of course, low overhead shrinkage and distribution costs, and so on. So there are other examples too. So the other is, of course, competing on response. So I don't have to say much about competing on cost. So competing on cost is making sure that you're able to give value to your customer. Customer perceives that you are giving them the maximum possible value at the lowest possible cost, right? So that's essentially competing on cost. Now, competing on response is important. So why would you send a letter through FedEx versus say USPS? Is a response, right? USPS, you send it somewhere. If you're mailing a letter, it will get to anywhere in this country in 48 to 72 hours at best, right? But FedEx will get it to you if you need to get it somewhere in 6 hours, and you pay FedEx enough, it will get your package there within 6 hours, right? So similarly, you have HP. When it was in its heyday, it was competing on response. Super fast pizza. So Domino's built itself on response. If you're longer than 30 minutes, your pizza was free, right? So all of that. So that was how fast pizza got born. Coming back to the FedEx and USPS example. So then why even send letters with USPS, right? Apart from the fact that it's cheap, it's ubiquitous. So if you are sending letter to some mountain man living in the middle of West Virginia, 40 miles away from everybody else, and you send them a letter, the letter will reach them, right? So anywhere in the country, USPS will deliver. In fact, there are lots of these remote places. And when I used to teach in Ithaca, I used to live outside of Ithaca, which was pretty remote. And even if I ordered something on Amazon and FedEx delivered it, FedEx would deliver it to the Ithaca post office, and the post office would then deliver the last leg to me, right? So even though it was supposed to come in FedEx the whole way, the last leg is delivered by the post office because FedEx does not have drivers in the area because there's not enough customers, right? So that's an example of competing on response. All right, so that's the idea. So these are the three main dimensions of response and three main dimensions of competing on response. Now, there are frameworks for analyzing operation strategy, but we will get to that in the next video. So in this video, we talked about the idea of missions, the idea of strategy, and the idea of how do companies differentiate themselves? What are the strategies for competitive advantage? In the next video, we will talk about analyzing operation strategy. What are the different ways in which you can analyze operation strategy? We'll talk about the SWOT analysis, value chain analysis, Porter's 5 forces model, all of that. So we will talk about that in the next video. All right. It's already 13 minutes long, so I'm going to end it here. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.